Have you ever wanted your flower arrangements to feel more elevated or high-end or fancy without spending more money on fancier flowers? This video is for you. Today I'm digging into analogous color palettes, and they will totally change how your designs look. My name's Ellen Frost. I'm building a community of flower friends online at Flower More. You can check it out on my website, ellenfrost.com. And subscribe to Flower Nerd, my free weekly newsletter all about flowers. So let's get into it. To begin, let's just talk about what is an analogous color palette. So analogous means that the colors on the color wheel are next to each other. When you're using an analogous color palette, usually you're thinking about 3-ish colors, no more than 4. Today I'm going to be using 3 colors in my analogous color palette. I'm going to be starting with red violet. So I have a celosia, a dahlia, and a gomphrena that are in this red violet color. I am going to be using red violet as my main color, with violet being my secondary color and red just being a splash. So what is it about analogous color palettes that make your arrangements feel more upscale or more fancy? Partly it is because these colors on the color wheel next to each other flow into each other one after another. It's easy for your eyes to follow along in the design. It also feels more harmonious. Colors next to each other on the color wheel feel harmonious. If you have a mixed color arrangement, sometimes it can feel a little hodgepodge, a little sporadic. So to begin my design, I'm going to start with some ninebark. Now I always like to start my arrangements with foliage, and I'm really excited that we have this ninebark today because you can see that it has this reddish purplish tone. So it fits right in with the color palette that we're working with today. I love this color in the fall when you're looking for something that is a little different than just green foliage in your design. And I'm using the foliage just to create the shape of my design. The next element I'm going to use is a line flower. And the line flower I have today is this celosia. So I'm going to use my red violet line flowers. And the role of a line flower in your design is to carry your eye, to help your eye travel down the design to the focal flower. So I'm going to add a few of these, and as you can see, I'm keeping them kind of tall because I don't want them to get lost in my design. The next thing I'm going to add is this cockscomb, which is also a celosia. Very strange that this and this are from the same kind of flower, same flower family, but totally different looks. So I'm going to use this cockscomb as my splash of red. And even though they're large, they're going to be in the background. So I'm going to have these a little bit shorter. I've cut them a little bit shorter than my line flower, because I'm just using them for that splash of red in the background. So the next thing I'm going to add are my secondary focals. Sometimes I go with a focal first, but today I'm going to go with my secondary focals, and those are lisianthus. I've got 2 different color lisianthus today, both in that violet color palette. So I've got almost a true violet, and then I have a lavender, which is a tint of violet, which means violet with a little bit of white in it. And my placement is going to vary. So I want some blooms a little bit higher, and I want some blooms a little bit lower, because as I'm designing from the top down. But when I put this on a table, somebody is going to be looking at it face on with their eyes right around here. So I don't want all of my flowers up at the top like an umbrella, I call it. I want to have some blooms right down here at the bottom. So I'm varying the length of my stems. And here's a trick. If you're not sure how to measure your stems, so you have a long stem and you're like, I'm not really sure where to cut it. Float your stem off of the edge, figure out where exactly you want that stem to be, and then you can cut it off right there. That's a good way, especially if you're a beginner, to learn to measure. So I've got these dark violets, and now I'm going to use this lavender. Lisianthus is one of those flowers that you can kind of force open with your hands. If it feels a little bit closed, you can just gently fluff it up. All right, now I'm going to put my focal flowers in. I'm going to be using dahlias in this red-violet color palette. This was our main color palette today. And I love these dahlias. This color is so unique. It actually is a perfect bridge for all of these flowers because if you look carefully, it has a little bit of the violet in it. It has some undertones of red, and it is a true red-violet color. So it's a great bridge flower for my design. And I don't want any of my dahlias to get lost in my arrangements. Make sure to give them enough room in the design so that they're not feeling squashed or end up in the background. These are your focals. These are the things you want to show off the most. You want everybody to see these. Now I'm going to finish my design with a few little other pieces. First, I'm going to use a little bit of a filler flower, and this is ageratum, and it is in the violet family. And it's more of like a blue violet. So I'm going to use this as a little bit of a filler just to fill in some of these empty spots. I'm not trying to crowd it. Every space doesn't have to be filled, but I do want to just add some color in between my stems. I'm taking a lot of this green foliage off of the sides because my color palette here does not include green. And I know that a lot of people think green is a neutral. However, green isn't color and it does impact how your design looks. And because we're doing an analogous color palette of red, violet, violet, and red, we are not including green, actual green, in this design. Now I've got two more elements I want to include. One, this is gomphrena. Gomphrena is the perfect little bits and piece at the end. And it is in our dominant color. This is the red-violet color. It's perfect for this design. I am gonna pop it out pretty tall because they're so small. I don't want them to get lost. And this one's great because it has 3 blooms on it, or 4, which makes like a little bouquet. I never wanna have just one of these because it can feel a little bit polka dotted. So this is great that they are all on the stem together, making a little burst of color, a little bouquet, almost like a little fireworks at the end. You can see that gomphrena is a branched stem. So sometimes the growers will leave this little nodule on from a past stem that was here, but I want to trim that off because sometimes if I put my stem in and I don't like where it is, I want to pull it back out. This is going to cause things to pull out with it. So I'm going to just trim that off so that my stem is really clean. So that if I put it in here, say I put it here, and then I don't like it and I want to take it out, it's very easy to take out. Nothing pulls out with it. So I'm going to just put that back in. And I will do that with any of my stems, just making sure that they're nice and clean when I put them in. All right, my last bits and piece. This actually, for me, is the thing that ties the entire design together. This is called Jewels of Opar, and it's such a small, tiny little flower. But if you look carefully, you can see that it has these little balls on the end of it, and they are in our exact analogous color palette. So we have red, we have more of a red-violet, and then we have a dark violet. So I might put a couple together so that they have a little bit more impact for me. And again, I want to keep them tall enough that you can see them and that they don't get lost in the design. So here we have a finished analogous color palette design. For me, it feels really elevated, really upscale, and really thoughtful. It feels like the color palette was thought out in advance and created especially for these flowers and these colors. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe to Flower Nerd, my online free weekly newsletter all about flowers.